We've come to a stage in the pandemic when there is no easy answer and no obvious date for unlocking. We will stick to our plan to lift legal restrictions and to lift social distancing.
All restrictions in England are eased, hopefully for good. But as Boris Johnson used to say, the unlocking was going to be cautious but irreversible. Now it looks like it's not that cautious and it might not be irreversible. Throughout the pandemic, the government's actually had a pretty consistent approach, even though it hasn't actually had that much of a strategy. Its approach has essentially been to keep the economy as open as possible until the point when the NHS cries mercy, until it says, look, we've just got too many coronavirus cases, we can't do any other basic medicine, healthcare's on the verge of collapse. And when that happens, what we've done is we've gone into lockdown. Now that's kind of happened by accident, because between the Chancellor of the Exchequer, Rishi Sunak, saying, look, we need to be more open for the economy, the Health Secretary, Matt Hancock, going, no, we need to be more closed for public health, and Michael Gove, in many ways the most important minister in this government other than Boris Johnson, flitting between the two and going, maybe this, maybe that. Between that, the government has tended to reach this as open as possible until the NHS cries for mercy.
And it is, of course, only thanks to the vaccine programme that we are able to take these cautious steps now.
Now, the vaccines are a game changer for several reasons. The first is, if you have your jab, you're much less likely to get it. You're also much less likely to give it to other people, and you're much less likely to have it severely. All of which means that you can have many more COVID cases without overwhelming the NHS. The problem, though, is that whenever we leave lockdown, we're going to have what's called an exit wave, i.e. a big lump of cases as we come out and start socialising. Now, of course, right now, that wave is slightly larger than it needs to be for two reasons. The first is the Delta variant, which spreads more quickly than previous coronavirus variants. The second is that although the vast majority of the adult population here has received one dose, and the majority of it has received 2 doses, those of us who are slightly younger tend to only have received 1. So we're slightly more likely to get it more seriously and slightly more likely to be able to spread it. Now you would then say, okay, well, why don't we just wait until everyone who is over 18 has been able to book and have both their jabs? Well, that's where NHS capacity comes back into it again. Because for 2 reasons, the cuts to social care, the cuts to local authorities, and the usual pressures of winter, the NHS already is crying mercy in the average winter anyway. So if you have an exit wave in winter, even a smaller exit wave than the one we're forecast to have now, there's a possibility that the NHS might collapse regardless of what we've done. So the gamble that Boris Johnson is taking is he knows essentially there's a big ball of coronavirus cases, and at some point that big ball is going to slap right into the NHS.
There is no such thing as an ideal date. All the possible dates have downsides.
We know we're going to see more hospitalisations and more deaths from COVID.
What he thinks he can do by unlocking now is mean that big ball hits the NHS at a point when the NHS doesn't have any additional pressures because it's the summer. The risk is, if some of us think, you know what, I'm going to take it slow, I'm not going to go out right away, that big ball might, instead of hitting the NHS in August, hit it in September, October, or even November. So his gamble might not pay off for him or for the NHS.